it's me, Gabby Dunn, and my dog, Beans. Aw. Hi, I am one half of this channel. Today I have an amazing new episode of Bad with Money for you. You can watch clips from it and then go to the link in the description to be able to hear the whole episode. This episode is all about fast fashion. We're going to be talking to Elizabeth Klein, who is a journalist who has covered this basically for the last decade. And then we're also going to be talking to my friend, actress Jessica Nicole, who makes all of her own clothes, if you can believe it. So check out the episode. Link again will be in the description. Bye!
How did you start wanting to research fast fashion, or how did that even come into your head as something to look into?
Yeah, so I got into writing about fast fashion because, many young people who have come before me and have come after me, I fell into shopping cheaply. I was buying a lot of clothes and just turned around one day and realized that I owned over 350 items of clothes, which now that's not even a lot. At the time, it was a shocking amount of clothing because I started researching overdressed a decade ago. And at that time, there were no investigations into fast fashion being done. If you were looking up information about where your clothes came from, who made them, what are the social and environmental impacts of our purchasing practices, there just was no information out there. So I really got started out of just personal curiosity and personal responsibility. I wanted to be mindful about clothing, but I didn't really know how to start. And the clothing industry, it's just so fascinating. There's so many different layers to it that all these years later, I continue to write about it. And of course now everybody is aware of fast fashion, I just saw Aidy Bryant on Saturday Night Live, came out as Mother Earth and did this segment on climate change on SNL. And she was obviously we're going to have to stop shopping at Forever 21 if we want to do anything about climate change. And it was really mind blowing to see that evolution where people went from not being aware at all to where it's actually a mainstream conversation and there's a lot of consciousness around it.
I think Instagram and Shein and Fashion Nova, the prevalence of that kind of got people thinking. That's my guess. What is sustainable fashion?
Yeah, we could spend so much time talking about that. Sustainable fashion is a very contested space. I would say there are two camps. The industry, really, the fashion industry, mainstream fashion industry, really wants consumers to believe that the fashion industry can be sustainable under its existing business model. All it needs to do is switch out polyester to recycled polyester, cotton to organic cotton, and power factories on renewable energy, and it'll be sustainable. I am not in that camp of people. I believe that for the fashion industry to be sustainable in any meaningful sense of the word, it would have to look really different than the industry that we have today. My work is very focused on human and labor rights for the people in the supply chain. So before anything changes in the fashion industry, I think the most important thing is for everyone who works in the industry to be justly compensated, to have a fair, dignified, equitable experience at work. And that right there is just such that's a big project. But in the conscious closet, to return back to your question about what is sustainable fashion, just so I don't dodge it, my understanding of sustainable fashion is the kind of old school common sense approach to sustainability, which is, everything that we make in this world requires a lot of natural resources. It requires a lot of time and these just, shipping things around the world, moving materials around the world. And if you want to be sustainable, it really starts with remembering that it takes a lot to make a product and just respecting the resources that go into the products that you own.
I mean, I think people feel like, well, I don't have a lot of money and I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to go and get like a blazer from Zara or whatever, or I'm going to get a blazer from, Target or something. But I think there's been a lot of push now towards thrifting and towards, Goodwill and things like that, where again, like even Goodwill or any sort of thrift store like that, you can get. I remember when there was Buffy prom that we went to. So that's going to sound nuts to my listeners, but there's another podcast called Buffering the Vampire Slayer, which is about Buffy, the TV show, and they did a prom. And I got 3 dresses for Buffy prom for $20 total. And I just got all of them and chose them. And they were all from like a Crossroads, thrift store. And they were all beautiful. And I wore one to like a red carpet event, whatever. And I remember being like, this is wild that you would go and get like a very, I don't know. I just felt like, oh, I if somebody says, where is that from? Like, I should be proud to be like, I thrifted it,
Yes, absolutely. That is so true. And I also want to say that I do think that there is a place for cheap fashion. I totally understand that people don't have the time to make their own clothes. I invite people who are interested in that to learn more about it, but it's not for everybody. Not everybody has the time, the resources, the money, or even the mental energy to do such a thing. What burdens me most about fast fashion is that it's a cycle where you have to keep buying more. So what I want people to learn how to do is to take care of the clothes that they do get. So if they go to Zara and they buy a blazer, that's fantastic. Let's get it to fit you so that the sleeves aren't too long and you roll them up and after a couple of wears, you're like, oh, I'm sick of doing this. You can take a Zara blazer to like a dry cleaners or an alterations shop and it doesn't cost a ton of money. Now, there are some alterations places that, require a little bit of money and that's totally great, but there are cheaper versions available too. I used to go to dry cleaners all the time because they always have an alterations little setup in there. So you can take a blazer in and for maybe 15 or 20 bucks, they'll like fix the cuff or fix the hem so that it fits you. And then you're going to want to get that dry cleaned when it gets dirty. You're still going to have to invest a little bit of extra money, but if that keeps you from going to Zara 3 times a month to find out what's new because you're able to take care of the better quality stuff, then I am all for that. I think I just want us to be able to preserve the clothes that we do have instead of constantly adding to the closet and then getting rid of stuff, every single season because you only wore this thing one time or something. And, that's something that we all have to learn how to do. I have to do it too because I can make things so quickly now that my closet can get filled up, pretty quickly. And so I am also trying to be very conscious about what is it that I need versus what is it that I want? What is the difference? Doesn't mean you can't ever buy something that you want to have versus need. But if you're putting thought into it and trying to think about the community as a whole versus what do I just want in this moment right now and why do I want it? I think that would be really helpful for a lot of people.
It's this hard thing, like you always hear about, like it costing more money to be poor in some ways, because like a rich person can buy a super nice blazer and have that blazer, and then a poor person is like, well, I can't afford a $50 blazer right now, but I can afford a $5 blazer each month. And it's like so awful. And you hear that about so many different things, not just fashion, but like for low income people and like people who can't afford that much money, like it's so many things are like that, where I can't get $100 really nice work boots, but I can get $20 boots every month. Like, it's like, it's so frustrating. With fashion stuff, I also, I personally, like, I'll make a list. So if I notice that I don't have like a black t-shirt or like a nice, like I'll notice when I'm getting dressed, you know what I could really use for this outfit? Then I'll mark it down, write it down, like you should have this. And then I'll try to see like 4 or 5 outfits that could go with it. So like if I get this black shirt, what different things could go with that black shirt, or like what I try to fill it in backwards. So like I'll be like, okay, like I don't have any, I'm trying to get dressed or whatever, and I don't have the right socks for this. Like, okay, remember that goes with this. Like I'll try to reverse engineer it so that at least it's every single thing has a purpose.
That is so smart. I love that so much.
It's hard, and I gotta get rid of a lot.
No, I get it. We call that curating your closet in the sewing world, where you're thinking about how much longevity one article will have. And that's a big mainstay of like, before I started making all my clothes, I would have like one shirt that went with one skirt and that was it. And it would just languish in my closet for like years because it was still really cute and I liked it, but it didn't really go with that many things. And so, once I started making my own clothes, it's interesting because I'm like, my time and my energy is valuable. I don't think like that when I'm shopping, at Zara or something. But when I'm making it, I'm like, I'm not making something that I'm only going to wear one time, unless it's, a nice dress for a red carpet event. But otherwise, I'm thinking about the color. I am thinking about the fabric. I'm thinking, does it go with this? And that's when I started coming up with the color palette, because that meant that I would get much more wear with each individual piece because they all worked within the same kind of world of color. Color palettes aren't for everybody. Some people, their color palette is a rainbow, and I very much appreciate that myself. But it was helpful for me to kind of hone in and say, let's focus in on what you're going to get the most wear out of.